Safer Seas, PvE servers, Super Weenie Hut Jr., whatever you want to call Safer Seas in Sea of Thieves, it undoubtedly had some effect on the onboarding experience for the new player and avid PvP haters. But amid several continuous complaints about how Rare implemented Safer Seas originally, and the recent changes, we must ask the question, did it fail? And how could it have been done better even after the recent update? Safer Seas is Diet Sea of Thieves. It's Sea of Thieves without the thieves. Safer Seas' original intention was to bring out a new way for people to get to grips with the game before they get shat on by some arena refugee with 4,000 hours in the game. Let's face it, the maiden voyage doesn't really set you up properly, or that fact at the outpost when you buy a ship. No one tells you how much damage each weapon does, what a Fort of Fortune is, and how to defeat another player in combat. And that last bit is important, since that's where the real challenge has always been in Sea of Thieves. But allowing a server for a single crew to play the tall tales, earn themselves a bit of gold, and get to grips with the mechanics for the game was a great idea. This came off the back of constant requests from the community on social media, as well as a push to make the experience for the all-new PS5 players that bit smoother, once again in an attempt to stop them being bullied back on God of War by the veteran sailors. Rare's heart was in the right place, but the restrictions may have been too much. There's an old saying, if you try to please everyone, you please no one. That is partially true, since some people are genuinely happy with how Safer Seas released. Others, not so much, since various restrictions haven't made sense. I have a full breakdown here on them, but the long and short of it is that Golden Rep is reduced to 30%, you can't achieve Pirate Legend, and you're locked out of the best world events, Hourglass and the Reaper's Bones. This was, however, changed to be 100% reputation and gold, but I don't think they've gone far enough, since some restrictions don't make sense still, like not being able to use your captaincy ship or the sovereigns. I get this is something to look forward to and earn, but it compounds the already slow progression in the Safer Seas. For something that was always marketed as a quality of life change in Season 7, it does make little sense. It was bound to get complaints that I still read all the time to this day. I do think the restrictions are a bit overdone. While some make sense, others don't. The captaincy one should be removed, both allowing you to save stuff to your ship, use the sovereigns, and earn milestones. I remember having to walk each piece of loot individually, and no, just because I did it, it doesn't mean others should have to. And where's the risk either? Who's going to sink you at the outpost? With the milestones, I also think they should be earnable. The rewards aren't that exciting. The milestones are passive things used for tracking stats, and the Hourglass ones would still be exclusive to PvP. I also reckon the boost to gold could be 100%. What is gold good for at this point? Any long-term player knows there's not much to spend your money on, and the gold-only cosmetics are either cheap or come out so slowly it doesn't even matter. This is the problem. The restrictions on Safer Seas are just so vast that it hasn't attracted any of the doubters, and the people like me who are already on side just aren't going to play it, so you're not going to get anyone already converted to play Safer Seas. Hell, I only use them to get easy footage since they're easier to spin up than a custom server. Sea of Thieves, despite how people will vehemently tell you no, was always designed with other players in mind. It's always been intended to function as a shared world sandbox game. The developers have added things that are fun to play with no other crews. The tall tales, the fishing, and some of the voyages, like Legend of the Veil. They're a blast, but outside of that, much of the content is simple to offset the risk of someone nicking it from you. Sea of Thieves PvE has never been that deep. That's okay, it's not how the game was designed, even if tall tales fucking slap. Therein lies the problem. As much as I do think people should be able to play on their own in a private server and experience the game's wonderful story unimpeded, trying to sell your open-ended, shared world sandbox game to single-player adventure lovers is a contradiction. Sea of Thieves is best when you're fighting 4 other ships at the Fort of Fortune, or teaming up and assaulting a burning blade, or clutching a sink at the last second when you are surely beaten. The best stories in this game don't come from sitting on a dock and fishing, or listening to a podcast or digging up 200 chests in a row. The constant threat of losing it all has always drawn in much of the fan base. Mix that in with a fantastical pirate world that's a treat to traverse and immerse yourself in, it's the only game on the market. But single-player, story-driven pirate games have been done before. Only one game has pulled off the open world shared adventure sandbox, and it's this one. In focusing so much on this aspect, releasing a diet version of the game to appease those who don't like your game was always going to annoy the core fan base and those who don't want to play Sea of Thieves. They just want to play a loot gathering simulator. Not every game has to appeal to everyone, and you don't have to like every game. It was never really intended to be a proper alternative to High Seas, just a way to relax, play tall tales, and get to grips with the game. Yet that's lost on most people, and I'm sure you guys will mention it in the comments. I see them nearly every single week a year later. Not to mention, Safer Seas released at the wrong time. This was before anyone knew it was because the PS5 port was coming, although we did have an idea when it leaked a month or so before the announcement in February. We were in a massive content drought, and releasing one new voyage, guilds, and Safer Seas didn't feel like a port in a storm. It would have been so much more impactful if it released with another update, like Season 12 when all the new players were coming in. What I'm trying to say, from release to 2023, Safer Seas always had an uphill battle. It couldn't have released as High Seas but with full content, gold and reputation, since it would have gone back on the word of the developers and alienated fans. It would have done nothing for the PvE in the long run, since all content would still have to be made with High Seas in mind, and confuses those who wanted PvE servers to this day. So what could have been? Here's the worst part. Safer Seas should have never been released. Rare should have taken a different approach while still fulfilling their intended usage. Sea of Thieves progression is all cosmetic based, but overall, you're just playing for fun, competition, or the social element. Custom servers have been available for years to certain community members, and nothing has happened with them aside from some better ones used a couple years ago for Sea of Thieves TV. Rare has, for the last 5 years, intended to release custom servers in some form as a Pirate Emporium feature, but that hasn't happened, and we haven't heard about this in years. I do think Safer Seas could have been better, and should have been more like custom servers. There should have been no progression and no gold. However, a variety of features available on them that normal or Safer Seas servers don't possess, with the aim of them being more like custom games from Halo. Halo thrived in part due to the robust Forge modes and custom game options, and Sea of Thieves has the potential to be even bigger. The ability to fly is already in the game if you're a no-good low-life cheater, so the floodgates are open. Imagine being able to fly around the map. You can capture footage of a custom event you're running, or zoom to the other side of the map to get footage for your video. Capturing good footage for this game is a pain in my assholes. Between the storm, AI threats, time of day, and long sailing time, it's like pulling teeth on some days. Imagine having powers to remove the storm, toggle AI threats, and change the time of day. I would go even further and have the power to spawn in items, such as loot, weapons, ammo, food, and AI threats, meaning you could lead a full D&D campaign on the server. Then we could have player modifiers like health, weapon damage multipliers, modifiers for jump height and sprint speed. The sky is the limit with the content that Sea of Thieves already has. Rare could have even implemented a normal custom server without the mod powers, where people can enjoy the full game with no progression outside of fishing and tall tales, both considered to be the chill content. If they're worried about hackers using these tools, the line is a dot on the horizon behind us that's been and gone several times over. I don't want to say Safer Seas was a waste of time, since it was probably very easy to develop relative to the other content we have. On the other hand, I do not think it had made the impact it set out to. Rather, caused a brief spike for the player base that left when they realised it was Sea of Thieves 0, or saw how much of a threat PvP added to the fun. But it certainly could have, and still could be, something amazing.